Disobeying a lawful command of a superior commissioned officer during wartime can be punished with the death penalty. Remember Maverick? Since we're talking about service members potentially disobeying orders, let's get right to the meat and potatoes. There are two major UCMJ articles that deal with this. Article 90, willfully disobeying a lawful command of that person's superior commissioned officer, and Article 91, willfully disobeying the lawful order of a warrant officer, non-commissioned officer, or petty officer. Now, these articles are no joke. Violation of Article 91 can carry up to 1 or 2 years of confinement, depending on who's giving the order. Violation of Article 90 can carry up to 5 years of confinement during peacetime, and up to the death penalty in wartime. Now, is that a likely sentence? No. But if a superior commissioned officer ordered you to keep the streets clean, and you knew that throwing your gum on the sidewalk could be punished with the death penalty, even if it were really unlikely, you would probably think hard before tossing it. Also, just don't litter. The legality of an order is not an element of the disobedience offense. It is a question of law to be determined by a military judge. So if a service member disobeys an order because they think it's unlawful, they could suffer all of the difficulties of a court-martial, including pretrial confinement and the stress of the unknown, just to finally, somewhere down the road, have a military judge rule that the order was in fact unlawful. Now, sorry to interrupt, but if you...
All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo-Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, and that is what the world English calls God. Bahashem, meaning in the name, Yahweh Shai, meaning He is our salvation, and that is who the world also ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, all right? Now, what brings us to our discussion / topic this afternoon is wartime punishments, okay? As you see from the clip, a lawyer just brought to my attention that if a service member disobeys a order given to him or her by their commander, that they can be penalized or they can be punished to up to 1 to 2 years or up to 5 years, or even given the death penalty, okay? Now, why is this important, all right? 2 scriptures have already come to your head right off the rip. One is that during martial law, which is considered wartime, if a service member refuses to take orders willfully, they can be locked up or given the death penalty, okay? So you Jakes, especially you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans that's serving in the military, you might want to think twice about serving, because if you get a quote-unquote heart and feel sorry knowing for the consequences that you're going to be giving your people, this device, this implantable device, and have a second heart and don't want to do it, well, guess what? That's a lawful order that will be made mandatory during what? Martial law, which is what? Considered wartime. And if you do not choose to do so, you can be thrown in prison for a period of time, or you can even be given the death penalty, all right? And who knows or who's to say that a willful order or a lawful order will be for all military personnel to take the RFID microchip. And let's say, for instance, if you don't, they will give you a prison sentence or even the death penalty. All right. So these are things that you need to put into thought as you are joining hand in hand with this beast system in this military. Okay. So these are things you need to think about, all right? I know, quote unquote, Uncle Sam promised you a lot, but did he also promise you salvation? No, all right? But what he can do is offer you up to destruction, all right? So this is why you need to come out of that, that Americanized mindset, all right? Thinking you're going to make it here in this kingdom, in this society, and joining the military, looking for handouts, looking for, free college tuition, looking for discounts on mortgages, because all this is coming to an end. Once martial law is invoked and the president, which is the commander-in-chief, give the order to make this RFID microchip mandatory, and you get a heart, or you get a epiphany of this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, and you want to leave under active military personnel, you can be thrown in prison or given the death penalty. Now, I type this right here. Can service members be sentenced to death for disobeying orders during wartime? And let's see what AI read. It says, yes, service members can be sentenced to death for disobeying orders during wartime under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. Right. It says, but only for specific offenses and under certain conditions. Under Article 90 of the UCMJ, willfully disobeying a superior commission officer lawful order, and the mark of the beast will be a lawful order. It says it's punishable by death when committed in time of war, and martial law will be considered time of war, as we're going to look into it. Other capital offenses that depend on wartime conditions include desertion and misbehavior of a sentinel, which is just another word for a service member. Okay, so these are thoughts that you should be thinking about, going into martial law, because this devil isn't going to allow you to know that martial law is coming. He's just going to deploy you, and you're going to be already in these cities and towns as National Guards. And then when all hell breaks loose and martial law is declared over the internet or the TV, it's going to be too late for you to get out by then. Okay, you're going to be locked in where you at. Okay, now if that's your lot to not take the chip or the charagma, for a testimony of Yahweh, then that's your lot, okay? But if you take that chip and you start to administer the charagma or the mark of the beast to other people, and you see the side effects and you catch a conscience and you try to say, I don't want to do this anymore, well, not only do you have to deal with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, but you're going to have to deal with this devil as well, because why? He's going to give you time locked up in prison or even the death penalty, okay? So you need to consider your actions right now before things escalate to the point where there's no return, okay? So let's look at this right here. I said, can violating the UCMJ Article 90 warrant the death penalty? Yes, violating Article 90 of the UCMJ can warrant the death penalty, but only if the offense occurred during a time of war. Without the aggravating factor of war, the maximum punishment for Article 90, which addresses willfully disobeying or assaulting a superior commissioned officer, is typically a dishonorable discharge, forfeiture of pay, and up to 5 years of confinement. All right, that's outside of wartime. During wartime is something totally different. You can be given the death penalty. All right, now let's look at this right here. I said, is martial law considered wartime? All right. It says, yes, martial law is often considered an outcome of manifestation of a state of war, although it can also be declared during other emergencies like civil unrest or natural disasters. It involves the temporary replacement of civilian authority with military rule, typically where the military commander holds broad power to make and enforce law to ensure public safety when civilian government has failed or is ineffective. And this is what we're coming into. This is why you're seeing troops like the National Guard coming and being set up in these cities, in these towns, in these neighborhoods, because why? They're getting ready to enact martial law. Okay? Now let's look at another one now. Let's look up what service members are, because these are the ones that's going to be, given the penalty, either jail time or prison time or the death penalty. Service members or service members are individuals who serve in the U.S. Armed Forces, including active duty personnel in the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard, as well as members of the National Guard. Are we not seeing the National Guard being deployed to these cities right now? Of course, and then more troops are going to join them from these other different sectors of the service. It says, and reserves on active duty. So if you in any one of these branches and you're active, you can potentially be given the death penalty or prison time if you're found willfully disobeying orders during wartime, scenarios, martial law. Okay? So we can violating his martial law, service members. Let's look into Article 90. Okay? It says Article 90, UCMJ, criminalize assaulting or willfully disobeying a superior commissioned officer, a serious felony offense with a maximum penalty of a dishonorable discharge, 5 years confinement, and forfeiture of all pay and allowances. To prove this offense, the prosecution must show the accused received a lawful command, giving people the charagma. It's a lawful command, will be a lawful command. It says, or to take the charagma will be a lawful command in order for you to stay in the military and receive all the perks and benefits. To prove this offense, the prosecution must show the accused received a lawful command from a superior commissioned officer and willfully disobeyed it. Okay? So this is what's to come, all right? And we warning you, because we know we got Jake, so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans in the military serving as service members, all right? And there was a clip where a Northern Kingdom brother was telling another Northern Kingdom brother, why are you doing this knowing that your ancestors wouldn't be proud of you? Or he said also that you came over here, more than likely, you didn't come over here through the proper channels, okay? So the point is, hey, you can't grow a conscience in that time, man, because if you do, you're going to be punished by what? The death penalty of 5 years up to 5 years in prison, okay? So let me get one more. I kind of want to bring up that video now that I mentioned it. Let me see if I can find it. Give me 1 second.
Use that gun on your people. Shame on you. I hope right now your ancestors are looking at you. Look at you right now, brother. Stand up. Stand up. How did your family get here? How did your family get here? You of all people. You don't walk away, brother. I'm good. Stay there. We can talk. We can talk. My tax money put you in school. You came here without no papers. Now you're an American? Thank you. Out of way to pay us back. We love you, brother. Don't forget that. Everybody take a picture of you. You know why? The internet is so good. No, I'm a public property. You're going to be a movie star. You're going to be a movie star. We're going to show you.
American cities. How do you justify
minute. Come over here, Mr. American. You're going to...
See, so it's going to be too late during wartime for you to go to countries and get a heart and be like, man, I shouldn't be doing this to my people. Hey, once your commander in chief gives that order to make the microchip mandatory, it's too late then. If you don't do it, you can be punished up to 5 years in prison and given the death penalty. See, these are the things you got to put into thought right now, and ask the Lord to give you the understanding. All right, now I also put in the Google bar. I said that service members have to take the you know what, okay? Because that was a requirement. And it says, yes, that was a lawful order. It says, yes, all service members were required to receive the you see the word after the Secretary of Defense mandated it on August the 24th, 2021. Though this mandate was re-signed on January 10th, 2023. So look at that. All those people would have been put down, given the sentence for 2 years because they refused to do this, only to have it rescinded 2 years later, all right? Well, a year and a half later. So you see, this damn government doesn't have your best interest at heart, only to use you and abuse you and throw you away. Let this be a cautionary tale. What happened back then in 2020 and was mandated in 2021 is coming again. We reading it, all right? There's nothing new under the sun, all right? What we had back in 2020 was the pre-trial to what's getting ready to go down, all right? And we sitting here telling you, man, warning you, all right? Now let's get a few precepts. This is Revelation 13 and 15. It reads, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. See? So this is going to be the penalty for those in the military, service members that refuse to worship the image of the beast. Okay? They're going to be what? Given time in prison and up to the death penalty. So it says, and he calls, what you go into that word calls, it goes into constitute or mandate, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right. So part of that all is the military. Okay. And once you take it, you finish. And if you get a heart and a conscience and consider not to take it, guess what? You're finished as well. All right. Because if you get a heart and a conscience and consider not to administer to the people, I meant to say, after you've already taken it, you're finished. Okay. The Lord's going to do away with you, or he may have this damn devil to put the spirit on him to give you the guillotine and to behead you. All right. So now is the time to think about this, really think about it, which ain't no real thought, to the man of the Lord, to the elect. But for those of the elect that are in the military, that may see this before it happens and get out in time, then guess what? The Lord is with you. Okay, but if you take that charagma, and if you grow a heart or a conscience and start to consider your ways, after you taking it, it's already going to be too late. All right? And especially if you decide to not acquiesce to the beast and administer these RFID microchips to the people, you're going to be what? Thrown into prison and given a death penalty. So it might be just a faster death sentence for you than for you to have to wait out the missiles to come and destroy this place. So it says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So this is going to be the way of life, all right? That charagma. Now we go to Revelation 2 and 10. It says, fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. See? So there may be elect members in the military that once this thing is made mandatory, which is a lawful order, and under that article UCMJ 90, that if they refuse a lawful order, they may be given time in prison or a death penalty. There may be elect members that wake up at that point in time and say, well, I'm not going to go through with it. All right. Or they may see it coming beforehand and, get ahead of the curve because, hey, Once wartime is here, martial law is here, that's it. All right? Once the orders is given, take it or suffer the punishment. Guess what? It's going to be easy, okay? It's going to be easy for this devil to enact that, all right? And we telling you beforehand, okay? But see, sometimes Jake just don't get it until it's here. And just think about all the military personnel that took the jump shot, all right? Only to have it rescind a year and a half later, all right? So it's going to be many of our people in there that's going to take it out of fear of losing whatever they have and thought they had in this society, and only to regret it. But it's going to be too late by that time, all right? It's going to be too late to regret it. Now is the time to really think about on it and ask the Lord to show you and open you up for it, because you can't wait till it happens and think you're going to be okay, all right? But if you are of the elect and they give you that order to either take it or not, and they tell you what the penalty is under under UCMJ Article 90, hey, if you're of the elect, you gonna tell them that, hey, whatever the penalty may be, I'll take it for the testimony of Yahweh Shai. See? But if you take it and then you grow a conscience and a heart later on after that, it's too late. All right? It will be already too late. Okay? Just like the service members that took that jump shot back in 2021, they may have had thoughts about not taking it, but they took it. Make no mistake about it. You had service members throughout all military branches that took the jump shot because they did not want to lose their benefits, their tuition, their military, VA, whatever. Okay? Active military personnel took that. Okay? So it says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil, Esau, Edom, shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. See, so there are going to be some elect members in the service that's going to see it, and they may very well wake up before they are administered with that charagma, that RFID microchip. All right. It says, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days, which is the period of time, which they said in the article that you can have up to 5 years in prison. Be thou faithful unto death. And then they may even expedite that 5-year prison punishment to what? The death penalty. It says, and be thou faithful unto death. But you have to be faithful, because they may say, well, we tell you what, we'll give you one more shot. Do you want to really serve out these 5 years or potentially have that death penalty? Or do you want to just take the charagma and get back on the streets and help out Uncle Sam, the government? And if you say yes to that, you finish. You see? But if you say no, I'm going to still hold true to my beliefs, then guess what? They're going to do it. But hey, as it says in Matthew 10:28, fear not him that can kill the body, but fear him that can kill both the body and soul and torment in hell. Okay? So this is the thoughts that should be going through your mind, Matthew 10:28. And fear not them which kill the body. So yeah, Esau, Edom, his military, is going to say, yeah, we're going to give you the death penalty. It says, but are not able to kill the soul, but they can't kill your soul. It says, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell, which is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay? That's what we fear, man. All right? So, although I find it hard to believe that none of the military personnel has heard the Hebrew Israelites, maybe there's some that didn't. All right? Maybe there's some that's going to wake up to it and hear the truth right before they administer or make the microchip mandatory. And their testimony will be given for them to what? Testify for Yahweh Shai by not taking the charagma and facing prison time, or be given the death penalty. All right? So who knows? Okay? We just here preaching the word. So back to Revelation 2:10. It says, Slakia, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. And ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death. See? That's the key point. You have to be faithful unto death. And I will give thee a crown of life. See? That's what we after, that crown of life, that immortality. This is Revelation 20 and verse 4, going into the death penalty. It says, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls, remember we just read it in Matthew 10:28, of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. Right. Fear not them that can kill the soul. I mean, fear not them that can kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. It says, and for the word of the Most High. See, so these were the witnesses that were beheaded for not taking the charagma, all right? And some of them are going to be in the military, okay? It says, and which had not worshipped the beast, which is this system that they're putting up right before our very eyes. It says, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads, right? So the beast is the infrastructure, and the image is the inner workings of how the infrastructure is going to be distributed, okay? Which we know is going to be pretty much digital, everything spearheaded by the mark of the beast. So the beast, you know, this so-called white man system and his image is what? He wants to have everybody chipped so that what? He can track and see their goings and their whereabouts and everything. And it's just going to be a totalitarian or authoritarian. If I'm saying the words incorrectly, forgive me. But it's going to be a dictatorship, all right? Or his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years, right? Which is part of the first resurrection, all right? Without having to taste the sting of death, okay? Because why? These individuals that are beheaded for the testimony of Yahushua are going to be raised up in the last days, and they're going to be the first ones to meet our Lord and Savior in the clouds, in the chariots, okay? They're going to be the first ones that are changed in the twinkling of an eye, okay? To have what? That immortality, that immortal body. Okay, so these are the thoughts that you have to think on, because why? You military, you service members, you're going to be put to the test, man. All right, you're going to be put to the test, and a lot of you failed back in 2021. Okay, only to find out that you took it for nothing in 2023. Okay, so get ready. All right, it's coming. Let's read 1 Peter 5 and 8 and close out. This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant. See, we're giving you good counsel. Take heed, because if not, you're not going to have no one to blame but yourself. Oh, I didn't see it coming. And then you come on and then they tell you, hey, we giving you an order as an active duty personnel to take the chip. And this is your commander officers. This is your superior officer. I'm giving the order for all military personnel to take the RFID microchip. And you don't. You say you want to walk away, and they say, well, wait a second. On the UCMJ Article 90, you are going to be given 2 years in prison, 5 years in prison, the death penalty. And then you get a second thought and say, you know what, I'll take it then. See? There's no way you can be an elect if you come down to that understanding that you're going to take it, because you get scared of what they're going to do to you. And instead of being scared of what Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is going to do to you. All right? So it says, be sober, be vigilant. Understand, you got to fear the Lord, man. Not this damn devil, this man, this beast. Okay? It says, because your adversary, the devil, see, he wants you in fear. He wants you to be inebriated. He wants you to not be on the lookout. He wants you to just go into it willy-nilly, not knowing what's the consequences. Like I did a lesson a day ago or two, Jake don't know about the laws. You think Jake in the military know about UCMJ 90 and the penalty? Of course not. Jake, all he signed up was because why? He knew he was going to get, you know, his college paid for, or he knew he would get, you know, a good bonus for signing into the military. Jake thought that, you know, he'd get good pay and have benefits, you know, VA, Medicaid. Jake didn't know hey, UCMJ Article 9091 is getting ready to be an act, and if you don't obey during wartime tactics, you finna get what? Locked up and even potentially put to death. See? Because why? Jake ain't too, circumspect. So it says, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. See? He's finna get a lot of Israelites under this article, UCMJ Article 90, during wartime, martial law. All right? Just like he got a lot of Jake back then. In 2021, we're giving them the ultimatum of taking, the jump shot or else, and they took it. They're going to do the same thing with this RFID microchip. All right? So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. All right? So with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We're almost home. Shalom. Peace.